Okay, so for my Stackathon project, I initially wanted to build upon something I was working on during Gray's Shopper, which was a library to make setting up forms in React less tedious, we'll say. The idea is that my library would provide a higher order component, kind of like connect or withRouter if you're using React Redux or React Router. So it was called withForm. You'd wrap your component with withForm and then pass in an object defining your form schema with information like your fields, your initial values, your data types, any validation. And then withForm will automagically manage the more tedious aspects such as setting up event handlers, managing your form state, tracking dirty flags, stuff like that. So to demo this, I wrote a AutoForm component, which basically you pass in your schema and then you include an AutoForm in your JSX. And then it will pretty much automatically render out something that matches your form schema as you define in this object here. So you don't have to really do anything. This is probably not great for production, but it's great for like prototyping. If you want to make a new feature and it requires a form, you just throw this in there, and you can optionally customize it a little bit by passing it a render method. And so it basically handles all of the validation, all of the updating of state for you, all that stuff. So if you pass in validators as functions, and they will run and fail if they don't return true. So I didn't really get super far in this library because halfway through I decided to implement something called TypeScript. TypeScript is a programming language developed by Microsoft, which is kind of like a superset of JavaScript. So it lets you add static type checking to your project, which lets you explicitly define the kinds of data types in your objects or functions or whatever. So as you can see here on the right side, my form state contains two properties. One is data and one is schema. And the data is of type field data. So then you can say, or a collection of field data objects. So basically, each field must have a value, an errors, a dirty flag, a visited flag, a touch flag. And if, when you're working with this, if you at any point like provide something that doesn't match the type you specify, the compiler will complain. So this is great for working on large projects or projects with other people because oftentimes you forget the shape of your objects or what your functions should be, take as input or pass as output. And TypeScript will not allow you to do that. It will just say, hey, you're passing in something that's not correct, which will, it takes some time to get set up and to learn the syntax, but it, in the long run, will result in faster development because you'll have fewer hard to debug issues caused by passing in the wrong data types or objects. And so yeah, that's what I've got. And thank you for watching or listening.